Hello. Today we're taking the political compass test. But before we do that, I want to draw some attention to the comments on the Ode to Joy by Ludwig van. The first one being, and I will play it now, me when I get McDonald. Can't believe it's already been 237 years since this banger dropped. The best, I love him, and I'm black. And on that note, where is the volume? Okay, you guys are doing great, but I got some talking to do. So let us do the political compass test. Starting with, if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Already here we have a problem because I don't know if you know this, but corporations are made by and consist of people. In other words, members of humanity. Sure, it's not all humanity, but I think CEOs are people too. Already we're beginning with the hottest of takes. So I'm going to say agree because, well, it's not really something. The question is self-contradictory in a sense, so you can't really strongly agree or disagree with that. So, agree. Yes, it should serve people ultimately, but this is not a. It's not a zero-sum comparison that you're making here. Okay, I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. Strongly disagree. If I think it's wrong, why would I support it? That's like that makes no sense. Um, No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. I agree strongly. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. You see, I disagree with the idea that any race, especially my own, whatever mine happens to be, like I'm a white guy, but I don't think anyone should agree with this strongly or just mildly. Um, Yeah, no, that I mean that is just racism. The reason I'm not strongly disagreeing with it is because I don't think I don't hold the opposite view either, as some of my self-hating fellow racial brethren do. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Usually not. Usually not. Disagree. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I am no expert on international law. I will say no. International law, I think, is pretty solid. So I'm going to strongly disagree. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's that terrible a thing. But now the economy, we're talking attitudes here, not the FTSE index. Cool. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. I agree strongly. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. No, because if everybody is employed, sure, their dollars might not be worth much, but presumably they're being productive, and that will control inflation. But on the other hand, no, I disagree. Not strongly because there might be some stuff that I'm not taking into account because I'm not an expert. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. I agree. Um, there is a strange idea to be taken into account here, which is something called Shirky's law, and that is when you try to invoke a punishment for some kind of behavior, um, people start to focus on the punishment rather than the right or wrong valence of whatever it is that they're doing. And if the punishment is not so bad, they will happily violate whatever moral principle they're being asked not to, because in their mind they're like, well, I'm paying for this bad behavior with the punishment that uh, I'm undergoing, so I'll just go ahead and do it. Like there's an abdication of moral responsibility when you punish people, which is why I'm also this applies institutionally and societally and individually as well, which is why punishing kids also doesn't work. It's if your child has done something that you would want to punish them for, whether you do or don't kind of doesn't matter. You've already failed as a parent, which is fine. That's maybe too much of a strong statement. Like the problem already exists. Now, what are you going to do about it? The thing to do is to prevent it from happening again, not to deal with whatever the issue is now. So I agree that corporations, as well as individuals, cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment. So yes, everybody does require regulation, but that regulation should ideally not take the form of punishment. Okay, from each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. You see, I know where this comes from, but I do agree with it. So this is the sugar that comes with the poison of communism. The freer the market, the freer the people. I mean, yes. To quote Rick and Morty, or paraphrase, freedom also includes people doing stuff that sucks. So freedom isn't necessarily always a good thing, but yes, if you have I mean, those would be correlated directly. Yes, I firmly believe that. Strongly agree. Yes, it's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Not really. I mean, I'm not a fan of bottled water, but who cares? Who cares that it's branded and bottled? What? So what? Okay. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought or sold. Why not? Why not? People have had land. Monkeys, cockroaches have land. Why not? It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing. Yes, I agree. I have a lot of sympathy for libertarianism, but this is one point where I will, yeah, I strongly agree with this point. Because I firmly believe the stock market should not exist. I don't know if that means I want it to be made illegal. Probably not. But I also don't think lying should be made illegal, but I firmly disagree with lying, as anyone in my personal life will know. Also, piracy. I mean, okay, piracy is arguably against the law, so that's a separate point. But yes, it is very regrettable, and I wish that that weren't the case. But at the moment, I don't have a decent solution for it, so I'm not going to complain too hard. But I do strongly agree with that point. Okay, protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. What is protectionism? The economic policy of restricting imports from other countries through methods such as tariffs on imported goods, import quotas, and a variety of other government regulations. Shield the producers, etc., etc. Okay, I'm going to stop this music because it might do a copyright thingy. Okay, Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. I guess maybe I don't really know. I mean, look, smarter people have thought it necessary, so I'm gonna err on the side of the status quo. Okay, the only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver profit to shareholders. No, in fact, strongly disagree. Number one, not all companies have shareholders, and that's not a social responsibility. This is a dumb test. Why did anybody think this is a good idea? The rich are too highly taxed. Disagree. In fact, strongly disagree. I will go as far as saying that, yeah. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. I mean, look, it's not nice, but I mean, that's like saying just because it's medical care doesn't put it in a different category than anything else. Like it's like saying those who can afford a better car should get a better car or should have access to a better car. Like that's just almost by definition that's the case. So yes, I agree with it. I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but you know, this it's just the way it is. It's almost silly to put a moral stance on it. It's like saying taller people should have access to higher shelves in you know at in stores and stuff. It's not it doesn't really make sense to even make the claim or have a stance on it. Okay, government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Yeah, yes. It depends. This is very vague. I'm not entirely sure what this means. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Uh, mm, I'm not so sure. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. In other words, they should be restricted from creating monopolies. I mean, no, because if you're genuinely free in the market, you should be genuinely free to create a monopoly. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it is part of being free. So, and that's the way the question is phrased. Don't get mad at me. Okay. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Strongly disagree. Look, I am a progressive on this and pretty much every other point. Um, I'm more progressive, in fact, not on this, but on other issues than self-described progressives, and we'll get to that probably as we continue this test. But for now, no, abortion should be legal. Okay. Um, all authority should be questioned. Yes. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. No. I am a utilitarian. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Interesting. I agree. And this is despite the fact that um, one of my best friends is the director of the Museums Association of Namibia, who I respect very much, and she does actually really important work. But I just kind of don't care about theaters or museums. Like, I think culture should be allowed to move on from the past, and people should be given what they want. I'm not a fan of government subsidies at all. Uh, I don't. I hate parastatals. In fact, um, Yeah, just let things be what they are. Let businesses succeed or fail on their own terms. If people want the stuff, they will pay for it. Schools should not make class. That's not to say that government subsidies shouldn't exist at all, because there are culturally important things that overall, in a sum of the sorry, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts kind of way. There's a lot of stuff that does make sense to subsidize, but I'm not so sure about theaters and museums. Okay, schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I agree. I agree. In fact, I strongly agree because sometimes you don't need it. And if you do need it, but you still don't do it, that should be your own problem. People should be allowed to make mistakes and pay for them. We're being spoon-fed morality in this sense by all these restrictions and compulsory things. So yeah, let people fail. They're gonna learn. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. What? All people have rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. What is this nonsense? You, what you want? Do you want to segregate people by what? Class, race, gender? No, dude, go away. Good parents sometimes have to spank the children. No, just no. I can make a whole video on this, but violence is a problem, not a solution. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Yeah, of course. I mean, have we not all been kids? Of course, you want to keep of course you want to keep secrets from your parents. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Yeah, I agree. And I'm not a weed smoker. I don't enjoy it. Um, Very few. Well, that's not really true, but I don't really hang around people who smoke weed. But yeah, no, it's not. It shouldn't be a crime. Why is it a crime? You're not hurting anyone. Okay, which is not to say that it's not a bad thing. I do in fact think it's a bad thing more than people realize. But making it a criminal offense is part of the reason why people think it's not a problem, because they get this idea that they've been lied to, which they have been, but then they go in the opposite direction because they think, well, we were lied to about how dangerous marijuana is. Like you're not gonna get addicted to heroin because you smoke one joint. So people then go, well, I guess it's fine then, and then they destroy their brains. And I know some people that has happened to. Um, anyway, the prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Yes, I'm not a fan of the phrasing here. I think the prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to be productive, which I guess is more or less synonymous with finding a job or creating a job is yeah, being productive rather than finding a job. That's the way I would phrase that question. So, but ultimately, yes, you should learn skills because we've created this thing called civilization, which is we we really don't give ourselves enough credit, and by we I mean humans, for inventing civilization. And we have to make our own rules about how that's supposed to run. And then we have to learn those rules, the rules that other people before us have made, and that's the point of school. I know this is like an obvious point, but I think we need to appreciate that a little bit more. We sort of take it as a given, but when you question the things that exist in society, um, and that leads you to come to the conclusions that um, are already implied, it kind of gives you a somewhat warm and fuzzy feeling, or at least it does for me. And that's how I feel about education. Anyway, people with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Strongly disagree, but I did hesitate because I do think that ultimately that is detrimental for the future of humanity, but um, I don't think we should be in the business to disallow people from reproducing. I mean, nature is cruel enough as it is. It's a problem that solves itself ultimately. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. What? No. Why would that be what? It's important, sure, but why why would it be the most important? That's so arbitrary. Okay, there are no savage and civilized peoples, there are only different cultures. No. There's a reason we have those words, and that's because those things exist. I'm not a moral relativist. Um, those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society support. Yes, of course. Why should I support your laziness? When you are troubled, it's better to not think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. What? Strongly disagree. I mean, sometimes that can be useful. You shouldn't spiral into a depression. But eh, no, when you're troubled, it's usually because you have a problem that you need to solve. I mean, the rest of it is just the corollary to that is just escapism, and I'm not in favor of that because that just allows the problem to spiral further. And then what often happens is then it becomes somebody else's problem, like your parents. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their country. This is dumb. I don't think integration is important, number one. I think culture is, or what we call culture in this context, is not nearly as important as people make it out to be. So I would say disagree because it's kind of it's just dumb. It's just a dumb point. It's probably true, but it's also dumb. Um, what's good for the most important, what's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. No, it's not necessarily always not the case, but no, it's definitely not good for all of us. No, strongly disagree. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. I disagree. The fourth estate is important, even in ways that people don't appreciate. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. This is a US centric take. Disagree. A significant advantage of a one party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. Well, that's by definition almost true. I don't think that it outweighs the disadvantages of doing that. But yes, it is a significant advantage. I think that's pretty much undeniable. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. That's not true. Even if you've done everything perfectly in your life, you can still be manipulated. Strongly disagree. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. I feel like it should be an option, but like there's extremely rare cases where it is the prudent thing to do. Usually, it's not the right thing to do for purely practical reasons, as well as moral reasons. But I mean, practicality is, for me, a subset of morality. So, okay, in a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I mean, that's pretty much always how it turns out, but I don't think it's necessarily the case. I don't think it's a moral imperative to have that. Abstract art doesn't represent anything, shouldn't be considered art at all. Who cares, man? Call it art if you want to. I'm not necessarily gonna look at it. I'm certainly not gonna buy it, but who cares what you call art or not? In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Strongly disagree. It should be the exact opposite way. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Well, some criminals, yes. But again, that is extremely rare. So I'm going to disagree. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Yes. And I say this as a creative. Uh, because we need to keep making stuff. People need stuff. People need to eat. People need to live. We need society to progress. And yes, writing and art is a part of that. But we're not at a level of society yet where our material needs are met. People are starving. Make some food instead of art. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. No, I disagree. In fact, I strongly well, yeah, I strongly disagree. Almost all politicians promise economic growth, but we should heed the warnings of climate science that growth is detrimental to our efforts to curb global warming. Yes. I feel like this is phrased in a needlessly verbose way. Almost all politicians probably should heed the warnings. I agree, but I don't think it has to be. I think we can grow in a way that isn't detrimental to the climate. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I somewhat agree because you can't fight every battle. You can fight some battles, and maybe other people can fight other battles, and that's how change happens. But yeah, there are some things that you have to make peace with. I agree. Astrology accurately explains many things. Go away. You cannot be moral without being religious. Fuck off. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. Not necessarily. They can both be effective. In fact, yeah, it can go either way. I disagree that one is better than the other. Some people are naturally unlucky. What? I mean, okay, yeah, if you're born without arms or legs and with cancer, that's just bad luck. So yeah, some people are naturally unlucky, but it's not like a supernatural thing where um, you go to a casino and you're just gonna get bad rolls all night because you're cursed somehow. But yeah, luck is a thing that does pertain to what to your natural state of being, I suppose. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. Fuck you. It's important that it doesn't do that. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. No. A same sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Yeah. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. What? Yes, of course. What? What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. I agree. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Fuck you. This is okay. This really is from 2001. Because come on, we know better now. Most mammals have displays of homosexuality. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. I'm not sure. I'm not a fan of like what is it, Cardi B and the like. I just for the same reason I'm not a fan of horror movies. I just don't think they say anything important or meaningful or useful or in any way valuable. But I don't think it has gone too far. Openness about sex hasn't gone too far. Like you can be annoying about it, and I do find them annoying. But it's not because they're open about it. It's just because they're just one-trick ponies, essentially. Okay, let's see where we stand. Okay, this is just explaining what it is. Where am I? Just tell me where I am. Yep, pretty much the same place as I was before. Yeah. Claim your political compass certificate. Mm-hmm. Get printable. Damn it. I will get my printable certificate. Here we go. Yeah. Call me Nelson Mandela. I do not mind this classification. All right. Well, I guess that's it for this video. Take care of yourselves and each other.